I am about to show you something that was never supposed to leave somebody's phone. A FaceTime call. A leaked FaceTime call that exposes the most desperate, calculated, and honestly pathetic move a man has ever made to try to win back the woman he destroyed. And when I tell you that what you are about to see changes everything you thought you knew about Offset, about Cardi B, about this entire divorce, about the money, about the shooting, about all of it, I need you to sit down. Because this story does not go where you think it goes. It goes somewhere much, much darker. There is a paper trail. There are receipts. There are casino records. There are text messages. There are people who were in the room. And by the time I am done breaking this down for you, you are going to understand why one of the biggest names in hip-hop is spiraling so fast that the people closest to him are genuinely afraid of what comes next. This is not gossip. This is a case study in how a man worth millions, allegedly, can end up with $3,000 in his pocket, a gunshot wound, grippy socks on his feet, and a restraining order from the mother of his children. And the craziest part? He still thinks he is winning. Let that satisfying click of the subscribe button be the last sound you hear before we go into the abyss. Because this right here, this is the beginning of the end. So here's what happened. And I need you to pay very close attention because the layers on this story go deep. Deeper than the surface level headlines. Deeper than the blogs. Deeper than what even academics has been reporting. And that man has been eating good off of Offset's misery lately. Footage was released. And I say released loosely because Offset's so-called friends are the ones who leaked it, of a FaceTime call. A FaceTime call where Offset is sitting there, looking like he just got into a disagreement with a house cat, showing off what he is calling his battle scars. Now, before I show you what these battle scars look like, I need to set the stage for what Offset thinks is happening versus what is actually happening. Because the gap between those two realities is wider than the Grand Canyon and twice as deep. In Offset's mind, and this is based on what people close to the situation have said, the plan was simple, elegant, even in its stupidity. The plan was this: get the footage of his injuries out there. Let it circulate. Let it go viral. Let Cardi B see it. And once Cardi sees how beat up he is, once she sees the scratches and the bruises and the hospital setting, her heart is going to melt. The restraining order, gone. The divorce proceedings, paused. The family, reunited. The bank account, accessible again. That last part is the key, by the way. But we will get there. Oh, we will absolutely get there. So let us look at these battle scars. Let us see what Offset is so proud of. Let us see the injuries that he believes are his golden ticket back into Cardi B's life, her home. And more importantly, let us be real here, her finances. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? Here it is. A paper cut. On his nose. A paper cut. On his nose. That is the battle scar. That is the war wound. That is the thing he thinks is going to make Cardi B, a woman who has been publicly humiliated by this man for years, who has a restraining order against him, who has literally moved on with an NFL star, that little scratch is supposed to bring her running back. I cannot make this up. I literally cannot make this up because if I wrote this as fiction, my editor would send it back and say, this is too unrealistic. No one would believe a grown man would think this way. And yet here we are. But here's where it gets interesting. Because that FaceTime call, those battle scars, that pathetic little scratch on his nose, that is not the story. That is the bait. The real story is everything underneath. The real story is why Offset is so desperate to get back to Cardi. And it has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do with missing his family. It has everything to do with the fact that Offset is hemorrhaging money at a rate that would make a Wall Street crash look like a minor inconvenience. Now I need you to understand something about Offset's financial situation because what I am about to lay out for you is not speculation. This is not rumor. This is documented. This is receipted. This is coming from multiple sources including casino insiders, former associates, legal documents, and the IRS itself. Let me start with the gambling. Because the gambling is the engine that is driving this entire train off the cliff. There are screenshots, and yes, I have seen them, and yes, I will walk you through them, of text messages between Offset and a hostess at a casino. Now, before I get into what these messages say, let me address the elephant in the room. Could these screenshots be fake? Technically, yes. Any screenshots could be fake. But here's the thing. These screenshots were circulated before the shooting. They were being passed around in sight and cycles before any of this blew up publicly. And more importantly, The details in these screenshots match up with what multiple other people have independently confirmed. So take that for what it is worth. Here is what the messages say. Offset texts the hostess asking how long something is going to take. She responds that she is not sure, that she sent his request to the higher-ups in the credit department. He asks her to tell him how much he is down for the trip. She responds, "Are you ready for this number? Are you genuinely ready? Because this number is going to reshape how you see everything that has happened." $890,696.90. $890,696.90. Down. On a single trip. In one visit to this casino, Offset managed to lose nearly $900,000. Let that marinate. Let that really soak in. Nearly $1 million. Gone. Evaporated. Fed into the machines. Spread across the tables. Dissolved into the casino floor like it was never there. And what does Offset say next? Does he say, "Oh my God, I need to stop. I need help. I need to walk away from this table and never come back"? No, he does not. He says, "I need a 500 line ASAP." He wants a $500,000 credit line. He wants to borrow $500,000 to keep gambling after he has already lost nearly $1 million. That is not a bad night. That is an addiction in full bloom. That is a disease that has its teeth so deep in this man that he cannot even feel the blood leaving his body anymore. And then the hostess tells him she is working on it. And he asks how long. And she says she sent it to the higher-ups in credit. And you know what he tells her? He tells her they only gave him $3,000 in cash. $3,000. That is what he has left. Out of everything. Out of all of it. $3,000. Now I want you to hold that number in your mind. $3,000. Because that number is going to keep coming back. That number is going to haunt this entire story like a ghost. Because when you hear about the shooting, when you hear about the debts, when you hear about the desperate FaceTime calls and the pathetic battle scars and the scheme to get Cardi back, it all comes back to that number. $3,000. That is what Offset had. $3,000. And here is the 90-cent question. How does someone lose $890,696 and end up with 90 cents? I mean, I understand losing big money at a casino. I get it. But 90 cents? What game was he playing that left him with 90 cents? Was he feeding pennies into a slot machine at the end? Was he betting loose change on red? What happened in the final moments of that gambling session that the universe said, "You know what? We are going to leave him with 90 cents just to add insult to injury"? I have been thinking about that 90 cents for days and I still do not have an answer. But the casino losses are just one piece of this financial nightmare. Because while Offset was bleeding money at the tables, the IRS was bleeding him dry on the other end. Let me give you the full picture. In 2025, reports surfaced that Offset owed over $2.3 million in unpaid taxes. That is $2.3 million to the IRS and the Georgia Department of Revenue combined. Now, to his credit, and I use that phrase loosely, Offset did pay off about $1.5 million of that debt in January of this year, 2026. But let me ask you something. Where did that $1.5 million come from? Because if you are losing nearly $1 million per casino trip, if you are down to $3,000 in cash, if every person who has ever done business with you says you are broke, where does $1.5 million suddenly appear from? That money came from somewhere. And I have a theory about where it came from. But we will get to that. The point is this, Offset is not just broke. Offset is in a financial freefall. He is not just spending more than he earns. He is spending more than he has ever earned. He is spending money that does not exist. He is borrowing money to lose money. He is begging for credit lines to fund an addiction that is eating him alive. And the only safety net he ever had, the only person who was keeping the entire machine running, paying the bills, funding the lifestyle, covering the debts, was Cardi B. And she is gone. She has been gone. And she is not coming back. Now here is where the story shifts from sad to genuinely alarming. Because it is not just the casinos. It is everybody. Let me walk you through the receipts. Dez Bryant, the former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. A man who has no reason to lie about this. A man who went on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and laid out, in detail, his personal experience with Offset and money. And let me tell you, this story is wild. Dez Bryant said, and I am quoting here, "I do not ever talk about what I do or my relationship with anyone, but I am going to give you all a quick story between me and Offset. He said he beat Offset out of $8,000. $8,000. Now, in the world of high-stakes gambling among celebrities and athletes, $8,000 is nothing. That is pocket change. That is what falls between the couch cushions. But here is the thing, Offset never paid it. But that is not even the wildest part. The wildest part is what happened next. Dez says he went to collect his money and tapped Offset to wake him up. Yes, wake him up. Offset had fallen asleep. Now, some sources have been saying that there are rumors, and I want to be clear, these are unconfirmed rumors, that Offset has been known to stay awake for nearly 24 hours during gambling runs, sometimes being spotted asleep at gaming tables. Whether that is related to exhaustion or other factors, I will let you draw your own conclusions. All hip-hop reported on these patterns, and it paints a picture of a man who is not just gambling recreationally. This is compulsive. This is all-consuming. So Dez taps Offset to wake him up, telling him, "Yo, I need my 8,000. And what happens? Offset's crew starts getting aggressive. Dez says he could tell Offset's partners wanted to jump him. He was outnumbered. He was by himself. So he charged it to the game, meaning he walked away. He let it go. He ate the $8,000 loss because the alternative, getting into a physical confrontation with Offset's entourage, was not worth it. But here is where the story becomes almost prophetic. Dez said that Offset reached out to him yesterday, meaning the same day as the casino incident. 3 hours before Offset got shot, Offset reached out to Dez on a money play. Dez thought about it, and he said, "I am good." 3 hours later, Offset got shot. And Dez's response to hearing that news? Damn, some people do not play about their money. Let that sit with you, because the implication there is enormous. The implication is that Offset was out there, desperately trying to scrape together money, calling anyone and everyone, running money plays, trying to get funds together, and 3 hours later, one of those money plays turned violent. The shooting was not random. It was not a robbery gone wrong. It was not bad luck. It was the direct, predictable, inevitable result of a man who owes money to everyone and has run out of places to hide. And it is not just Dez. Lil Tjay is in this story for the same reason. The whole reason the altercation at the Seminole Hard Rock happened was because of a $10,000 gambling debt that Offset allegedly owed Tjay. $10,000. That is the number that started a chain of events that ended with gunshots, emergency surgery, arrests, and a man sitting in a hospital showing off a scratch on his nose on FaceTime. $10,000. DMs between Offset and Lil Tjay resurfaced showing that Offset owed Tjay $10,000 and allegedly told him, in so many words, to come get it back in blood. Come get it back in blood. Now, I am paraphrasing here, but the message was essentially that Offset was not planning on paying. And Tjay, apparently, decided to collect in a different currency. And then there is Selena Powell. Now, Selena Powell is Selena Powell. I know. But even a broken clock is right twice a day, and in early 2026, Powell claimed that Offset owed her $15,000 and that he had threatened her when she tried to get repaid. She posted clips. She posted comments. She went on a full expose run. And at the time, people dismissed it. People said, that is just Selena being Selena. But now, with everything else that has come out, the casino losses, the Dez Bryant story, the Lil Tjay debt, the IRS situation, Selena's claims suddenly look a lot more credible. Because the pattern is undeniable. Offset owes everybody. He owes the casinos. He owes other rappers. He owes former NFL players. He owes women he was involved with. He owes the federal government. The man is a walking, talking IOU, and the bill is coming due from every direction at once. Let me break down the actual shooting because the details are important, and the way it unfolded tells you everything you need to know about where Offset is mentally and socially right now. It happened at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Offset was there. Lil Tjay was there. And according to Florida police, this is their official statement, Lil Tjay instigated the altercation. TMZ confirmed it. NBC News confirmed it. Multiple outlets have reported that Tjay directed his crew to jump Offset. Now here's how it went down. After the initial confrontation, the argument about the debt, the money, whatever was said between them, Tjay allegedly sent his people to jump Offset. A physical fight broke out. Multiple people were involved. And during or after that fight, one of Tjay's associates allegedly pulled out a weapon and shot Offset.
Offset was hospitalized. He went into emergency surgery. The severity of his injuries has not been fully disclosed, but the fact that he required emergency surgery tells you this was not a minor incident. This was serious. This was life-threatening. Now, in the aftermath, there is a detail that is both wild and somewhat satisfying depending on where your sympathies lie. Wyren Mango Fu, an associate of Offset, someone from the Wyren camp, allegedly knocked out Lil Tjay. Like, clean knocked him out. In the casino. During the chaos. Seti Nash, the YouTuber, reported this, and multiple sources have backed it up. So while Offset was getting shot, his boy was handling business on the other end. That is the kind of thing you only see in movies or in hip-hop, which at this point are basically the same thing. Lil Tjay was arrested, charged with disorderly conduct. A misdemeanor. And that is it. Because here is the thing, nobody snitched. At least not initially. The police could not get anyone to identify the actual shooter. It was like a code of silence descended on that casino floor the moment the shots went off. Everyone suddenly had amnesia. Everyone was looking the other way. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. The police basically pulled a CSI and had to send everyone home empty-handed. Disorderly conduct for Tjay and a frustrated investigation with no cooperating witnesses. But then, and this is where it gets messy, Lil Tjay went online and claimed that Offset snitched on him. Tjay said that Offset identified him to the police. That Offset pointed the finger and said, "That is the guy." Now, if that is true, and I want to emphasize the if, that changes the entire dynamic of this situation. Because in the world that these men operate in, snitching is the cardinal sin. It is the one thing you do not do. And if Offset did cooperate with law enforcement, if he did give a statement or identify anyone involved, then this is not just a gambling debt gone wrong anymore. This becomes something that could follow him for the rest of his career. The streets have long memories and short tempers when it comes to that label. Now, with the police involved and statements potentially on record, I have to wonder, is this going to escalate? Because you have a shooting victim who may have cooperated with authorities, a rival who has been arrested and publicly accused of snitching by association, an unidentified shooter still out there, and a community of people watching every move, every statement, every social media post for signs of what comes next. This is a powder keg, and Offset is sitting right in the middle of it with $3,000 in his pocket and a paper cut on his nose. Chapter 5. The real reason Offset wants Cardi back. Now we come to the part that ties everything together. The part that makes the FaceTime call and the battle scars and the desperate manipulation make sense. Because once you understand the full financial picture, once you see the pattern of debts and losses and compulsive gambling and bleeding money from every pore, Offset's sudden desperation to reconcile with Cardi B is not romantic. It is not sweet. It is not a man who had a near-death experience and saw the light. It is a man who looked at his bank statement and saw the void. Think about it. Just think about it for a second. Here is a man who, throughout his marriage to Cardi B, had access to one of the biggest bank accounts in hip-hop. Cardi B's net worth is estimated at around $130 million. She is one of the highest-earning female rappers of all time. Her career has been on an absolute tear. She just won a legal victory getting a lawsuit about her single enough dismissed. She has been making moves, building her brand, stacking her money. She told interviewers she was reborn after the divorce. She is out here with Stefon Diggs living her best life, while Offset is in a casino at 4 a.m. begging a hostess for a credit line. And during their marriage, during the years they were together, Offset had access to all of that. The Cardi B money machine was fueling everything. The lifestyle, the cars, the jewelry, the entourage, and most critically the gambling, because that is where it was all going. That is the dirty little secret that this entire story is built on. Offset was not just stepping out on Cardi with other women. He was stepping out on her with the blackjack tables and the dice games and the slot machines and the sports books. He was taking her money, the money she earned, the money she worked for, the money she built through years of grinding, and he was feeding it into an addiction that was never, ever going to be satisfied. And I think, and this is my analysis, my opinion, my read on the situation based on everything that has come out, I think the moment Cardi realized that the money was disappearing, that was the moment the marriage truly ended. Not the cheating. Cardi put up with the cheating. We all saw it. The world watched her take him back after every scandal, every side chick, every embarrassing headline. She is a Libra. She loved that man. She wanted to make it work. But the money, the financial betrayal, that was the line. Because cheating breaks your heart, but financial ruin breaks your life. And when Cardi saw the bills not being paid, when she saw the money flowing out faster than it was coming in, when she realized that the man she trusted with her finances was dumping it all into a hole that could never be filled, that was when she said enough. And now, cut off from that financial lifeline, Offset is drowning. He is not just broke. He is dangerously broke. He is the kind of broke where you owe the IRS millions, and you owe casinos hundreds of thousands, and you owe rappers 10 grand, and you owe NFL players 8 grand, and you owe everyone everything, and the only asset you have left is the fame that is quickly turning into infamy. So when he sits on that FaceTime call, showing off that scratch on his nose, making his little sad face, hoping that footage makes its way to Cardi, he is not doing it because he misses her smile. He is doing it because he needs her credit score. He needs access. He needs the machine to start running again. He needs Cardi B the bank, not Cardi B the woman. And that, right there, is the most heartbreaking part of this entire story. Because somewhere in there, beneath all the gambling and the debts and the manipulation and the narcissism, there are children. Beautiful children. Multiple children with Cardi and with other women. Children who deserve a father who is present and stable and healthy. And instead, they have a father who is in the hospital with a gunshot wound because he could not pay a $10,000 gambling debt. They have a father whose financial situation is so dire that he has become a cautionary tale told in real time on the internet. They have a father who, rather than getting help, is plotting how to use his injuries to manipulate his way back into a situation he destroyed.
Meanwhile, Offset. What does Offset have? Let me make the list. A gunshot wound from a casino altercation. A restraining order from his ex-wife. A gambling addiction that has consumed nearly everything. Casino debts approaching $1 million. Tax debts in the millions. Personal debts to multiple individuals. A new girlfriend who is rethinking her life choices. An entourage that has shrunk to his mama and said girlfriend. A FaceTime video of him pointing at a scratch on his nose like it is supposed to fix everything. Grippy hospital socks. And $3,000. That is the list. That is where Offset is in 2026. That is the gap between these two people. And the craziest part, the part that keeps me up at night, is that Cardi did not create this gap. Offset did. Every single thing on that list is a consequence of his own choices. The gambling, the debts, the violence, the manipulation, the refusal to get help. All of it. Cardi did not do this to him. She was, if anything, the only thing preventing it. She was the dam. And when she left, the flood came. And it has not stopped. Some people have been saying that Cardi is the one causing all the drama. That she should just leave Offset alone. That she is dragging things out. And to those people, I say this, Cardi has a restraining order against this man. She is not dragging anything out. She is trying to protect herself and her children from someone who, by every available measure, is spiraling out of control. The restraining order is not drama. It is a safety measure. And given what we now know about the gambling, the violence, the financial desperation, that restraining order looks less like an overreaction and more like the smartest thing she has ever done. Now I saved this for near the end because it is, in my opinion, the most dangerous piece of this entire puzzle. Lil Tjay has publicly said that Offset snitched on him, that Offset cooperated with police, that Offset told them who was responsible. And if Offset did snitch, and the police are now involved in an active investigation with cooperating witnesses, this situation is about to get a lot more serious than a disorderly conduct charge. Because let me ask you something. Offset has always carried himself with a Satan image, the street image, the tough guy image, the I came from nothing and I am about it image. But does he really be about that life? When it comes to men, because I know he will get aggressive with Cardi. There is a restraining order to prove that. I know he allegedly tried to get some women tagged up, women who told Cardi about his activities, according to the restraining order documents. But when it comes to actual street confrontations with men, when it comes to the code, when it comes to the one rule that everyone in that world knows you do not break, if he broke that rule, if he snitched, then the casino incident is not the end of this story. It is the beginning, because that label does not wash off. That label follows you. That label changes how every single person in your industry, your neighborhood, your circle, your life interacts with you. And for a man who is already financially ruined, already isolated, already spiraling, adding that label to the mix is like pouring gasoline on a fire. I genuinely hope this does not escalate. I genuinely hope cooler heads prevail. But I am not optimistic, because Offset does not seem to be in a headspace where he is making rational decisions. He is in survival mode. And survival mode makes people do desperate things. And desperate things create consequences. And consequences create more desperation. It is a cycle. And every cycle needs something, or someone, to break it. And right now, the one person who might have been able to break it has a restraining order and a new boyfriend. Let me bring this full circle. Back to the FaceTime. Back to the battle scars. Back to the scratch on his nose that he thinks is going to fix everything. Because that FaceTime call is not just embarrassing. It is diagnostic. It tells you exactly who Offset is and where his mind is. He just got shot. He just survived a violent altercation caused by his own unpaid debts. He just went through emergency surgery. He is sitting in a hospital. And his very first thought, is not, I need to change my life. It is not, I need to get help for my addiction. It is not, I need to be a better father. It is, how can I use this to manipulate Cardi into taking me back? That is narcissism. That is textbook narcissism. The belief that everything, even your own injuries, is a tool to be used for manipulation. The belief that you can still control the narrative, still control the people around you, still pull the strings, even when you are lying in a hospital bed, even when you have $3,000 to your name, even when the entire world is watching you fall apart in real time. He still thinks he has Cardi wrapped around his finger. He still thinks a sad face and a scratch on his nose is enough to undo years of cheating, financial destruction, and emotional abuse. He still thinks he is the main character in a love story when he is actually the cautionary tale in a documentary about addiction and narcissism. And that disconnection from reality, that inability to see himself clearly, is why I do not think this is rock bottom for Offset. I know people want it to be. I know people want to say, this is it. This is the wake-up call. He is going to turn it around now. But I do not believe that. Because rock bottom requires one thing that Offset has not demonstrated: self-awareness. Rock bottom requires you to look in the mirror and see yourself honestly. And Offset is still looking in the mirror and seeing a man with a master plan. He is still looking at that scratch and thinking it is his ticket back. He has not learned anything. And until he does, the descent continues. So let me give you the final tally. Let me lay out, one more time, everything that has happened and everything that is at stake. Because I want this to be crystal clear. Offset lost nearly $900,000 gambling at one casino in one trip. He asked for a $500,000 credit line after losing that money. He had $3,000 in cash. He owed Lil Tjay $10,000, which led to a physical altercation and a shooting. He owed Des Bryant $8,000 and never paid. He reportedly owed Selena Powell $15,000. He owed the IRS and the state of Georgia $2.3 million in taxes, of which he has reportedly paid $1.5 million, with money that came from somewhere nobody can quite explain. He has a restraining order from Cardi B. He is in the middle of a contentious divorce where he reportedly rejected a $10 million settlement. He allegedly snitched on the people who shot him. His inner circle has been leaking his FaceTime calls. His ex-wife has moved on with an NFL star. His new girlfriend is questioning her life decisions. And he is sitting in a hospital in grippy socks, pointing at a scratch on his nose, thinking this is the move that is going to turn it all around. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, have you ever, in the entire history of hip-hop, seen a fall this fast, this complete, this utterly self-inflicted? Because I have not. I have seen rappers go broke. I have seen rappers go to jail. I have seen rappers lose everything. But I have never seen someone dismantle their own life with such thoroughness, such consistency, such dedicated commitment to making the worst possible decision at every single turn. And the saddest part, the part that genuinely makes me feel something other than shock and entertainment, is the children. 5 children. More. Beautiful kids with mothers who, by all accounts, are doing their best. Kids who did not ask for any of this. Kids who are going to grow up one day and Google their father's name and find all of this. The casino losses, the shooting, the grippy socks, the FaceTime, the restraining orders, all of it, documented, permanent, inescapable, and there will be nothing anyone can say to make it make sense, because it does not make sense. It never did. I said earlier that when narcissists fall, they fall in flames, and I believe that. I have seen it. I have watched it happen in my own life with people I know. Narcissists do not have soft landings. They do not fade quietly. They burn, loudly, publicly, spectacularly. They burn everything around them and then stand in the ashes wondering why everyone left. I hope Offset gets help. I genuinely do. I hope he finds a program for the gambling. I hope he gets therapy for the narcissism. I hope he reconnects with his kids in a meaningful, healthy way. I hope that somewhere beneath the bravado and the manipulation and the delusion, there's a man who can still be saved. But hope and evidence are two different things. And the evidence, right now, today, in this moment, the evidence says we are watching the beginning of the end. Not the end, the beginning, because there is still so much further to fall. And the way Offset is moving, the way he is thinking, the way he is playing in everybody's face while the walls close in, he is going to find every inch of that distance. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Offset can turn it around? Do you think the gambling addiction is going to consume whatever is left? Do you think Cardi was right to walk away when she did? And do you think, honestly, truthfully, that showing off a paper cut on FaceTime is the move of a man who has hit rock bottom, or a man who still has not even come close? Because I think we'll both know the answer. I will talk to you in the next one. And trust me, the way the story is moving, there will be a next one, and it will be worse. Stay informed, stay aware, and stay safe out there. Peace.